There are 24 tips for new and returning players to the Division 2 in this video. So what I've done is I've put chapters in so that if you're familiar with something you can skip to the next tip. And starting the video off, this is a cover-to-cover looter-shooter. As you start playing on higher difficulties, I highly recommend you utilise the cover in the game. Not only because you're going to get hit a lot harder by the enemies, but if I stand here and I run over to this piece of cover, it's fairly slow. However, if you do a cover-to-cover move, so I'm holding my A button on Xbox controller, you actually move a lot faster and you take less damage. The enemies are a little bit more inaccurate when you're going cover to cover. However, one thing I would pay attention to, I don't know if it's going to work inside the grounds of Boo, but if I start shooting and then I come out of cover, every now and then you'll notice there's a bug where your character will leave the gun above cover for maybe like a split second or something. But in that little time frame you can still be hit, so I'd be careful whilst you're in cover, peeking out, like aiming at enemies, shooting them, then going back into cover. So pay attention to all of it. The game is a cover-to-cover looter shooter, so make sure you do utilise it. It's going to be so helpful. The next tip is about levelling a new character. So when you do level a new character in the game, you will have perks. If you come over to the Quartermaster, you go into the menu, you can bumper along to your perks. Shade Tech is a currency, you can find it in the game, and the Shade Tech is going to be used to unlock your perks, but at the same time is going to be used to unlock your skills and their variants. So make sure when you're getting Shade Tech you find the right balance, unlock your skills, but don't forget about your perks. They are so important when you are leveling a new character. Then when it comes to perks in the game, as we spoke about, the one I recommend unlocking straight away or as soon as you can is the Accolade one, because headshot or kills award an XP bonus. Killing multiple enemies at the same time gives you an XP bonus. So make sure you're getting them, they're going to help you level up and progress through the game faster. Then the next tip is about your HUD or your heads-up display. If you go into your game settings and you go to UI, you can customize your HUD. What I recommend is messing around with this to get it exactly how you like it, but my biggest tip for it is top left where you have your mini-map. I recommend increasing the size of it because you're going to have indicators and stuff like on the location of enemies, and it's really, really important. So make sure you pay attention to that. Go into the settings, customize your HUD, fit it to your personal preference, your play style, and exactly how you want to play the game. Moving on to the next tip, we have Shade Tech, and Shade Tech, as we spoke about, is used to unlock your skills and your perks. But in order to obtain it, you will need to complete main story missions. As an example, if we hover over Federal Emergency Bunker, we're going to be awarded 12 Shade Tech. If we come down to the Potomac Event Center, again 12 Shade Tech. Not only that, but side missions like the Empire Autumn Hotel will give you 6 Shade Tech, and you can also find them scattered around the open world. If you pop into a safe house, you interact with the computer, you will then find the location of different Shade Tech caches. Then we move on to the next tip, which is safe houses. Each region in the game is going to have a safe house. Make sure that when you are able to go into these areas, you unlock the safe houses by entering them. These are good for fast traveling, so as an example, if we go over to Final Epiphany, we can fast travel. But not only that, when you are in the safe house itself, there will be a computer, I can't remember which one it is in this safe house, but there will be one you can interact with, and it will show all the Shade Cache locations, like within that region in the game. Next up we have fast travel, and fast travel can be initiated by hovering over a safe house, over a friendly control point, over main story missions. You have to complete the main story mission first, but once you have completed them, you will be able to fast travel. But one thing I recommend is not using fast travel all the time in the early game, purely because exploration is key to getting extra XP to level up and progress. Not only can you find material and gear crates when you are roaming around, you can also take down control points. There will be little side activities like territory controls, propaganda broadcasts and things like that. It's all going to build up your XP and get you leveled up. Next up we have the base of operations. This is the heart of the game, and if we enter the base of operations, once you've made enough progress into the game, you will be able to use vendors so you can buy and sell some gear. You can go to a shooting range. I'm not sure if I think I do have this unlocked. So you can come down here, you can go into the shooting range and you can check all your DPS and stuff. And then you get the crafting table, you get the recalibration station. There is so much to it, but obviously you need to make enough progress. Next up, we have weapon mods. Weapon mods are going to be really helpful. So when you first start the game, you'll start getting some loot. You can see I've got God rolled gear. I mean, it's very bad stats. This is a low level character. But when you jump into the game, you will start getting some mods. You'll see there are things like optimal range, accuracy, stability, headshot damage, reload speed. There's loads of different benefits to weapon mods in the game. One of the ways that you can obtain these is to run side missions. So if we go to the map and we have a look here, you will see you get a blueprint for the Flash Hider 762. But what you need to do is unlock Inaya by doing enough of the story, like progressing far enough. And then you will unlock the crafting station. At the crafting station, if you go into your mods, you then have to craft all of the mods for your weapons that you find. This only works with weapon mods. Gear mods and skill mods will be obtained just by playing the game. They're in the general loot pool. And what you can do if you play Summit, if you play the Countdown game mode, then what you can do is you can actually target different mods. The next tip is to make sure that you complete absolutely everything. So when I say everything, I mean main missions, side missions, open world activities, and even complete all of your projects. What you can also do is, when you're far enough into the game, you've unlocked it all. I believe it's if you have Warlords of New York. What you can then do is check the seasonal manhunt and the activities like the leagues and global events. You will also get a weekly project to hand in materials. You get given an exotic cache as an award, so you can guarantee a new exotic every single week. You can then also, when you make enough progress, start up a clan or you can join one. And if players in your clan collectively earn enough XP through the week, you will get different tiered clan caches all the way up to gold, so I believe it just goes bronze, silver, gold, and you can get some really good loot out of those caches. Also save up your credits, as there are different vendors scattered throughout the game world, which often have decent pieces of gear for sale. Next up we have side missions, and these are very important to leveling up in the Division 2, but these missions, they will scale with your level. So you'll see this one currently earns 36,450 XP. Next level, it might be about 45,000 or something like that. A complete estimate, but they scale with your level. So what I would do is not rush to do them. I would save all the side missions until later on, as you will get through the levels faster. I'd recommend saving them until around level 25 or something like that, as that's roughly when the grind starts to become the slowest. Next up we have attributes. If you look at the top left side where it's got my gamer tag, you'll see blue, yellow and red. In the Division 2 you have 3 base attributes. The red one is your firepower, so if you put together a red build your guns are going to be more powerful. A blue one's toughness, so a blue build would be survivability. And yellow is utility, so a yellow build will have really powerful skills. Inside the base attributes you will have other attributes, your core ones. And your 3 core attributes I recommend paying attention to. Your red ones are weapon damage, your blue ones are armor, as you can see on this piece of gear, and yellow will be a skill tier. So you'll see there on this green body armor or green chest, you will see core attribute +1 skill tier. Skill tier does, as it says on the tin, it increases the tier of your skills. Your skills will be much more beneficial to you if you have a high skill tier. But you'll then also have your minor attributes like crit chance, crit damage, hazard protection, skill damage. As you can see there, you've got explosive resistance. All of this stuff goes into a build, so make sure you're paying attention to all of your attributes. And try not to go too crazy with the variety in your build. A lot of builds will consist of mainly red or mainly blue or mainly yellow. And it all depends on the game modes and stuff you're playing. If you're playing the new mode Countdown, you can't go in there with a skill build. You'll instantly be kicked because the hunters at the end can ruin your entire extraction because they can actually hack your skills and use them against you. The next tip is about gear, and gear in the Division 2 has other benefits in the form of running a set. Gear has brands, or it can come in an actual gear set. Brands are incredibly important for any build. As an example, you have Providence, which is what I mainly run. And Providence is going to provide bonuses for a red DPS damage build. So you'll see Providence says headshot damage, crit chance and crit damage 15, 10 and 15%. If we also go down to my knees, you'll see these are Overlord armaments and they give for one piece 10% rifle damage. So make sure you understand which brands you are going to be using. If you want a DPS build, I highly recommend Providence. Then there are others you can pay attention to, but make sure that you know which brands you're running and make sure you understand your build. It's not just about the attributes. And then we also do have gear sets. If we go in and we have a look at a gear set, these don't run from 1 piece, they start at 2 and they go up to 4. So you'll see here with the Heartbreaker set, for 2 pieces you get an extra 15% assault rifle and LMG damage. Then it goes up to 4 pieces and you get a talent called Heartstopper. But when it comes to builds, if you're struggling to put a build together, I highly recommend the gear set build, just because it's so much easier to put one together. Then the next tip is talents. So as well as attributes, as well as brand sets and gear sets, you also have talents that roll specifically on backpacks and chests. You will get talents in the game if we have a look like this one. Vigilance increases total weapon damage by 25%, however taking damage disables the buff for 4 seconds. If we have a look at my chest, I run Obliterate. Crit hits increase the total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds and it stacks up to 25 times. You can also on named items in the game, because you get standard items, then you get named ones. Named ones roll with a perfect talent which will increase the benefits like the buffs of the standard talent itself. So jumping into the next tip, which is your named items. They can be found in your general loot. And as I said, they will roll with the perfect talents alongside some max rolls. If we have a look here, I have the Overlord Armaments named Fox's Prayer Knees. As it's a knee piece and not a chest or a backpack, there is no talent, but you'll see the yellow attribute, damage to targets out of cover. That is a unique attribute to this piece of gear, so you can't actually change that attribute. If we have a look here though, I have a chain killer. And if you have a look at the talent, Perfect Headhunter, you'll see there where it says next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals an additional 150%. What that yellow number is means that the standard variant of the talent doesn't have a percentage that high. If you look on the right hand side under where it says replacement, standard Headhunter, instead of 150% of that killing blows damage, it's only 125. So that's the benefit of a named item having a perfect talent. If you want to farm yourself some named items, I recommend playing Countdown. Target the specific type of gear you're going for. So if you want a named backpack, target backpacks. And you should have a lot of luck. Named items and exotics drop very often in the Countdown mode. Next up we have Targeted Loot. Targeted Loot is a system in the game that helps you farm specific pieces of gear, like chest pieces or even specific gear brands, even gear sets. When you're playing any activity, you can use the world map, you can check the Targeted Loot. If we go in and press up on the D-pad, so for the whole of the White House area is pistols. If you want to go over and play Camp White Oak, that is aces and eights. However, if you play Summit or Countdown, if we go over here to Summit, if I come off the Targeted Loot, if we come to Summit and I press down, you can see that you can actually select which piece of loot you want to target. That's only in the Summit and Countdown, but that's a really good feature, especially when you're playing Countdown, because the targeted loot, the named items, the exotics, they drop really often. Then in the Division 2, you also have named bosses. These will spawn every half an hour and they can drop you some really good loot. So if we come out of Boo and we run straight through this gate here, then make our way past this helicopter and come out of the gate at the bottom. If you keep running south, you come past this little water fountain. You will see in a moment that we will have a named boss. You'll see the enemies right in front of us now. And there you go, we have the Brutal. So if I fire a couple of shots, get them all aggroed. Now we're dealt with the enemies, the random ones is just me and the Brutal. And there you go. So that is a named boss. They spawn every half an hour in the open world. And you can find them in lots of different areas. But make sure you're killing them, they can drop some really good loot. The next tip is the Recalibration Station. It's another thing that's really important that you pay a lot of attention to. When you play on higher difficulties, your chance of higher stat rolls increases. If you have a look at the stuff on my build, everything is maxed out. Absolutely everything is the highest possible roll you can get. If you take a look at any of your pieces of gear on the right hand side of the bar, so you've got rifle damage plus 15%, an orange bar. On the right hand side I have an arrow. What that arrow does is that's an indicator of whether you have a higher percentage stored in your recalibration library. So say for pure example, I had 7% rifle damage, or let's go 5% damage to targets out of cover in my library. That arrow underneath will be halfway through the bar. Then if I pick up a piece of gear that has 6%, the bar is going to be further along than the arrow. So what I can then do with that piece of gear is bring it to the recalibration station, pop it in my library, and it's stored there forever. So what you need to do is play on higher difficulties, find yourself gear, like for an example, max rifle damage, then pop that into your library. It's going to stay there forever, and what you can do is then roll that percentage onto any piece of gear as many times as you want. So don't get that the wrong way. Weapon damage can be rolled onto 5 different chest pieces if you want to. You go into a mission, you find 5 different chest pieces, you can put max weapon damage on all of them, and that stat will stay in your library forever. But what you need to pay attention to is the fact that you can only re-roll 1 stat on a piece of gear. So you'll see here on this mask, I have rolled crit chance, if you see the icon on the right hand side. So you can use the stat you've stored as many times as you want on as many different pieces of gear or weapons as you want, but you can only re-roll 1 stat per piece of gear. And exotics are a little bit different. They cannot be recalibrated through this station. So what you need to do is farm exotics and deconstruct them for their components. Then once you've got the blueprint for that specific exotic, you can craft it again to try and get better rolls. There is also optimization. If we go into here, you'll see optimization. However, I've not really ever used that station. There's also expertise, but that's a system that you just basically progress through as you get further and further into the game. And then you have your recalibration library where you'll see all of your different stats. You've got your core attributes, then you've got your normal ones. I've got everything maxed besides a couple of talents for some weapons. Next up we have materials. Materials are going to be required to do multiple things in the game, but one of those things is to recalibrate and to craft. You can obtain these by simply running around the map and looting the little caches and stuff that you'll find, the little crates that you can find just laying around everywhere. If you need some food and water, if you want to do the weekly project for exotics, if we go, and I located one down here a moment ago, if you come down here you'll see a resource node for water. You go to that area, you take out the enemies, you gather all the water. Not only can you complete projects with food and water, you can also gain benefits from a control point. If you go to a friendly control point, you hand some of those materials over to the officer in charge, and it's going to help you out. So make sure you are getting your hands on materials, you are going to need them. Next up we have exotics, and exotics can be found in caches. You'll see the bottom left of this project. The weekly shade requisition, I can get over 350,000 XP, an exotic cache, and the named item. You can also find these as loot drops when you are playing different activities in the game. Even story missions and things like that will grant you exotics if you are lucky enough. You can also get them as seasonal rewards for reaching certain levels. If we quickly go into the seasons menu and we go to the rewards track, I believe it's 45 and 90. So there you go, you've got the premium one, so you've paid for the pass, you get an exotic cache of 45. And if you purchase the season pass at tier 95, you'll get 2 exotic caches. But if you don't and you're playing on the free pass, you'll still get yourself an exotic cache. You do get exotic weapons and gear pieces. If we have a look, I believe I have one, there we go. I've got the tardigrade exotic chest piece. And then, as an example, I've got the Pestilence exotic LMG. One thing you have to keep in mind is you can only use 1 piece of gear and 1 weapon at any given time that is exotic in any of your builds. Next up, we have Specialisations. These are very important because they basically give you a skill tree. So we go into Sharpshooter, which is what I run. And there are lots of different bonuses, like if we have a look here, I've got 15% increased marksman rifle damage, 15% increased rifle damage. If we go up to here, you'll see 15% increased weapon stability, reduced recoil, and faster reacquisition of targets. So things that are really going to help you out. Next up is hidden loot rooms, secret rooms that are found in story missions. If we run into Grand Washington Hotel, and we make our way into the hotel, so you open the very first door, you come into this area, then you make it downstairs, and if you come over to here, there is going to be a body on the floor. Right next to this cart over in the corner. And if you see there, hold X to search body. Search the body and out comes a key card. So Suite 3 card. What you then do with that is progress through the mission, and towards the end you'll find hotel rooms. You can open one of them, you'll get crates and stuff inside there. That is a secret loot room. And bear in mind, when you are playing the Division 2, all of the loot crates and stuff reset every single day, the same as the targeted loot. It will rotate on the missions and stuff every day. So pay attention to what's up in the loot and go back and get your crates and everything to maximise how much loot you're farming, because you're probably going to find some pieces of gear that will benefit your build just by playing the game and spending a bit of time with it. Next up we have orange loot crates, and if you look up quite often, you're going to see a big parachute, and on the bottom of that parachute you will see a crate hanging. If you just shoot that crate, out will drop some loot. I've started the mission to get in here, so there will be enemies, but you'll see they're only purples, but loot will drop out of the orange crates. So make sure when you're roaming around the open world that you're looking for them orange crates. You will see them hung on the side of buildings and hanging from trees and stuff. If you just look for the big orange parachutes and the crates that you can shoot, pop a couple of bullets into the crate, is going to drop your loot. Next up, the penultimate tip is the underground. If we have a look on the map and we go down to here, there is an underground entrance. If we climb down this ladder and go in, you can find some bosses and stuff in these areas. But also, if you have a look on the walls, I'm not entirely sure of their locations, but you can find key cabinets. So if we look around for one, so upon exploring the underground, you'll find these cabinets. If we open this, you'll see bottom left we got a dark zone key. You can get keys for the dark zone, you can get keys for the different factions in the game. The keys that drop out of cabinets are completely random. You cannot select which one you're going to get. So if we come down this alleyway along here, if we go inside, this gate might actually be locked. You just have to shoot the lock to open it. If we then come down here, you'll see around this corner, we need a hyena's key to open up this little like box. So go to the underground, grab your faction keys, farm it down there for a little bit. You might come across some enemies, a named boss or something like that. Grab your keys, open these, you can get some cool loot. And then the final tip number 24, is calling for help. In the Division 2, you have an option to allow people to request help. You can also do the same thing, as if you're taking over a control point, if you go down, you can request backup. Make sure you use this feature. If you're stuck on a mission, you want to help other players, or you just simply want some co-op, but you don't know anyone that plays the game. If you use the calling for help or call for backup system, you can find some other games to play, jump in with other players, take down some control points, or get someone to help you with a mission. But not only that, if you head to your world map as well as calling for help, you do have the matchmaking system. So you can do random activities and bounties, you can do expedition, you can do the summit, open world exploration, so on and so forth. If you're looking for a request for backup, answer the call is the one you want to do. You'll also see there is an entire shade tab. You will have a shepherd rank for helping other players. There's different rewards and stuff for that, so it's worth helping out some people that might be stuck with the game. Check out this video if you want to see more Division 2 content on the channel. That's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope it helped you out. Thank you for watching.